Moments we're looking at the theme this morning in One Big Church of restoration and the temptation to try and fit in and to try and be like everyone else. Did you enjoy the little story about Punchinello? Yeah, very cool, isn't it? Very, very good. Now, you know, in a moment or two, I'm going to ask my lovely assistant to come and assist me. But before I do that, what I'm going to need to help me this morning is the strongest man in the church. And I don't mean strong smelling. That's not the kind of strength I'm talking about. But, you know, if you fancy yourself a bit, gentlemen, if you go down to the gym, got a bit of muscle, got a bit of tone going on. Do we have any men like that? Dylan! Come on, Dylan. Come on, Dylan. You just stand here. That's going to be fine. You'll be fine. And my lovely assistant, Barbie, give a big hand of applause for Barbie. And she'll explain. She's just going to stand by Dylan, and I'll explain in a moment what's going on. What an impressive specimen we have here. And Dylan's not bad either. So, you know, the world wants us to just fit into their mold. The verse that we read at the beginning of the service says, Romans 12:2, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The Message puts it like this, says, do not become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. That's really good, isn't it? J.B. Phillips wrote a paraphrase version many years ago, and he says this, don't let the world around you squeeze you into its mold. You see, I have a little, this, ladies and gentlemen, apparently a stress ball. And it looks quite stressed, to be honest. And, you know, what happens when you're squeezed by the world is you get misshapen. That if you try and fit in with what everyone else is doing, you never quite are the same. You're always trying to be something that you're not. And you get home and you relax, and the next day you go to work or go to uni or go to college or go to school, and it's all of this all over again. And actually, everyone who tries to just fit in, and particularly Christians, you are being squeezed out of shape. The shape that God has designed for you. Now, Peter, you all agree, the Apostle Peter, great disciple of Jesus, but one time he was so scared of what other people would think of him, he got bent out of shape. He got squeezed. In Luke 22, we read this, when he's standing aside and he's seeing what's happening to Jesus, who is about to die. And leading up to that, he says, Lord, I'm ready to go with you to prison and to death. But Jesus said to him, you know what Jesus said, right? He said, Peter, before the rooster crows today, you will deny me 3 times. And just a few verses later, we see Peter's response to the pressure that's put on him. He says to a woman, in fact, if we were really to unpack this text, Peter speaks to every strata of society. If you examine the text, it says to a young servant girl, I don't know him. It says to someone, I'm not him. Says someone else, I don't know what you're talking about. And then the rooster crowed. And Luke says, and then the Lord turned and looked straight at Peter. And Peter remembered the word of the Lord has spoken, and that before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. And Peter went outside and wept bitterly. You see, when we feel intimidated, and sometimes when we don't, like the Message says, we just subconsciously follow the pattern of others. We become compromised. We actually become deniers of our faith. And it starts usually with something small, something insignificant. Now, we've all agreed that Dylan is the fittest and strongest man here in the church. Just tie one around him. So, Dylan, can you hold out your hands together, please? You do that? Yeah. Nice and tight. That's it. Wonderful. Now, Dylan, we think you are strong enough to break this cotton thread. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Can he do it? Let's just let Barbie get a nice knot tied on there. And we'll see how he goes. Right, step back, Barbie, so we can all see. You right, Dylan? Are you ready for the challenge, my friend? Okay, so on the count of 3, do you think he can break the thread? Think he can do it? Because what this is Dylan's first compromise. This is Dylan's first denial of Jesus. This is the time when someone has challenged him and he thought, I'll just fit in. But go on, Dylan. On the count of 3, you ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh. Amazing. Amazing. Right, go to town. Go to town. Go to town. Now, you see, the first time you're squeezed into that mold, the first time, actually it's quite easy to return to your original shape, isn't it? You can make a decision. You can say, I'm not going to be like everybody else. I'm going to live for Jesus. And you make that act of your will until the next time someone challenges you. No, you've got like 5 minutes, don't worry. Until the next time someone challenges you. And what happens is it begins to bind you. It might seem small and insignificant, but it begins to tie you up. And you get to the point where people in your workplace say, I never knew you were a Christian. I never knew that you went to church on Sunday. I was asked by, today is our granddaughter's 2nd birthday. Really excited, going to a birthday party this afternoon. Going to have lots of rough and tumble with my grandkids. Going to be brilliant. But I forgot the birthday card this morning, ladies and gentlemen. So I was sent back from the car by my lovely wife. She said, go get the card. And as I was walking in, there was a man there going to the apartment above us. And he said, oh, hello. And I said, how you doing? He said, it's my wife's birthday. I said, that's a coincidence. It's my granddaughter's birthday. Chatting. He says, I've just got the bacon and eggs in. Going to go make her breakfast in bed. I thought, don't tell my wife that you're doing that for yours. But anyway, it's really nice. And he said, so are you going to the party? Because I was explaining I've been sent back to the car, to the house to get the flat to get the card. And I said, yeah. But first I've got to go to work. And he looked at me a bit strange. And I thought, go on, ask. Ask me. Please ask me what I do. Because that's the best conversations I ever have. When people say, what do you do for a living? I go, guess. You never guess what I do for a living. I've been called a lawyer, accountant, and a dustman, ladies and gentlemen. So I fit all those kind of narratives. And actually, sometimes when people come to us and they say, I don't know that you were a Christian. I don't know that you were different. Oh, hello. And so, is that you, Lord? I don't know. Lights went dim there. And I wonder what Jesus was thinking when he looked at Peter. You ever thought about that? See, I don't think that was a look of condemnation that you sometimes get in church. I told you so. I told you. I think it was a look of love. I think that was the first step in Peter's restoration. That Jesus, who's about to die for the one who's denied him and everyone else, and the one who's betrayed him, and the Pharisees who are going to insist that he is crucified, he looks at Peter with love, and that sends Peter into a place of weeping. But later, in John chapter 21, we discover that Jesus restores Peter. Yes, it's good news, isn't it? I love the fact that when we are at our lowest, Jesus gets alongside us and says, let's have a little walk together. You see, if you read there, they're on a beach. And Jesus says, come on, Peter, let's go walk. And 3 times he asks Peter, do you love me? Now, this is going to be a bit of rocket science theologically here. How many times did Peter deny Jesus? How many times did Jesus restore him? 3 times. For every denial, for every compromise, for every moment when you feel that your nose is painted green, Jesus brings about a restoration. And that's the wonderful thing about God. It doesn't matter how many times we fail, how many times we fall, how difficult life is, we begin to discover that he restores us. Okay, you can stop now. Just tie a knot in there. There you go. There you go. Take a bit of thread. There we are. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we discover. Thank you. Thank you. She wants to do it properly. Have you got any blood left circulating to your fingers? Yeah, you're all right. Okay, cool. So when she's right, thank you, Barbie. You can step aside there. So we all agreed that Dylan, we didn't say he was the best looking in the house, but we said he's the strongest, the fittest, goes to gym, busts it out, PT extraordinaire. Dylan, can you break those, my friends?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure. Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen, on the count of 3? 1, 2, 3. Can't do it. Can't do it. Thank you so much for your help, Dylan. No, it's all right. You can. So the point is, my friends, without us even knowing it, we become bound by little things, by little compromises, by little statements, by little denials that eventually build up, and the little things become something that we feel we can't operate. But John 21 tells us that Jesus comes and he restores us. And so as Dylan is here, unable to free himself, Jesus sets him free.